We got hards on. We're going to the end.
It's what was it? It was the Spain Grand Prix, and we're talking about it. We're going with another one of those pods that are very much structureless. You know, usually I got my three sectors. I've got my rate, my quality. I've got my race rundown. Don't even remember their own fucking shite concept. And then we got the soft medium hard awards, and so we're sort of throwing balls to the walls, guys. I don't know what that really means, and if that fits in the context of what I'm saying. But it's one of those races that actually, for what Spain is, I thought was quite a good race. And it could have probably petered out into nothingness, but the whole race I was begging for a safety car because I knew for a fact it was the only chance my boy Lando had, you know, considering the poor Saturday, well, I say the poor Saturday, being out qualified on Saturday and then the bad start. And then even with that, nothing came from it. So it was actually exciting, and everything after. Sometimes you get races that are largely boring, and then you get a safety car, and then you get 10 laps after that safety car, but it just turns into chaos, and it's enough chaos to like make the whole first part of the race worth it. Not that the first part was boring, but basically overall it was a good weekend, and yet I walked away from it dejected, sulking, um, you know, being rude to strangers, just bad mood. Bad mood's what I'm getting at. Because obviously I've became invested in the sport in a way which is obviously unhealthy, but it's the way in which you all get invested, and that's through tribalism, and that's through backing a team. I'm always surprised when people like watch sports and they just enjoy it for the love of the sport. They don't follow a team. They watch football just for football, and they just love football, but they don't support a team. Same with any sport. I don't care if it's a team sport is the word I was looking for, or a solo thing, right? I don't care if it's tennis. I don't care if it's fucking badminton. Okay, I don't care if it's fucking bowls down at the local green. Like, if you're not backing like a driver or a team in like something you're watching, that's fine. But you are like, I'd be surprised if you ever truly deep like reach down into the added layer of the iceberg of sport, which is just that, you know, it makes you feel weird emotions at weird times because I don't know, it's weird. Like, I've been watching now for a good 2-3 years, and I've up until this season I've enjoyed the races more so than any driver's performance, and now it's like I'm really struggling to enjoy a race where it hasn't gone Lando's way. I had a better time watching Lando sit at the front in Monaco in what was a diabolical affair compared to Spain, which was a pretty good time, pretty good race, but it just so happened that Lando didn't win it. And Lando didn't even have like a bad race in the sense where he was like not P2, he was still P2, but I was just like P2, you know what I mean? But so that's my issue. It makes me lack enthusiasm. But we are going to talk about other drivers because otherwise I may as well rename this podcast to. I was going to say Hards on Lando, but I don't like those two words being next to each other. Even though the title of this podcast is an innuendo in itself, I don't like that. I don't like the idea. I don't like the idea of getting a restraining order over a podcast name. But you know, okay, we'll still do it. Qualifying, basically, yeah. I want to talk about everyone because for that reason. But I'm going to talk about it in more loose terms this weekend. You know, I should have had my laptop actually because there was some things I screenshot. To me, the most interesting parts of the weekend, obviously, Piastri was on pole. I feel like he had Norris's number all weekend, and it just seemed like a track he was quicker on. Couldn't extract what Lando could. Lando has no reason to be in a negative headspace. He's beat him by a bit of luck, a bit of skill in the last two races. In terms of the race weekend that qualified him at Monaco, couldn't get it done for the three-peat. But yeah, Piastri was just quicker here. Maybe he had the extra animal in him. But in terms of race pace and qualifying, he was just quicker. Nothing was going to change that unless Lando out-qualified him and then could just stay ahead maybe. But even still, Lando's starts are still nothing to write home about. And unless like Piastri's car exploded, like it wasn't going to happen. Like I was praying for that like, what's it called, fucking safety car the entire time. I thought maybe, and especially because they had just changed tyres, now it's equal tyres right next to each other. And he was able to make a gap. Lando couldn't stay in DRS for even like 2 laps basically. Piastri got away, so that's a shame. That is a shame. But for me, I think in terms of where most of my enjoyment came out of this weekend, it was by having what I felt has been missing from the sport in a long time, and that is Mad Max Fury Road. You know, this is the fucking sequel. This is the fucking threequel. We've moved past Furiosa. This is Mad Max fucking back for revenge. This is Mad Max in his most petty era. I remember at Monaco last weekend, I was talking about George Russell and how, like, I kind of had a bit of Maxisms coming out of me. That's, again, another weird sentence. But in the sense that, like, the way I was behaving, my reaction to, like, George Russell's situation last weekend, being stuck behind Albon, how he cut the corner, I was saying, like, I would have just got out the car, I would have fucking cut the corner on Albon and then backed Albon up just to, you know, I was saying just mad shit you should be doing as if it was advice that they shouldn't be doing as, like, you know, sportsmen or whatever, right? Just because his race had been fucked anyway after he got that penalty, right? But, like, this weekend, Max kind of had a moment like that where they was telling him give the position back, and he just went on George Russell as well, who they equally have a lack of relationship, let's say, right? And it's like, give the place back. And obviously, if Max is going to give a place back that he doesn't think he's going to give back, he's going to try and do it in the most bullshit way possible. He's going to try and, like, give it back to you for, like, 1/50th of a second and then, like, go back in front. And, like, he almost was trying to do that. Like, he can, like, go ahead of me for 1/10 of a second, like, on an acute angle section of this corner, and I'm going to go back in front type thing. And then halfway through, it's like he just lost his head and did a cheap little, like, nut shot. just like, fuck you. Like, I'm not winning this race. I don't care. We're not fucking winning the constructors. Like, this is bullshit anyway. And just, like, lashed out type thing. And it's like, the races have been good. I always talk about, I think Brundle said this is, like, the highest quality of drivers we've had in Formula 1. Not in terms of, like, the ceiling, but in terms of the floor, in terms of how the ceiling and the floor is closer, and therefore there is no huge duds at the moment on the grid. And I feel like that's been to the grid's detriment in a way. And also on top of that, I feel like we've missed some exciting radios. I feel like they've been a little bit sparse, right? And just good old drama and antics. I think a lot of the best parts of Formula 1 is just, the reason I like radios, for example, is it's fueled by drama and little storylines. And George Russell, Max Verstappen's a great storyline. I mean, we had George Russell clutching his pearls, sort of standing up like that guy in the meme. Like, I'm going to say the thing that no one else has said that needs to be said, you know, sort of, you know, George Russell, was you silent or was you silenced? You know, stepping out and being like, hey guys, you know, Homelander's bad, you know what I mean? Like a character doing that on The Boys. Like, I know you all think he's this. Yeah, he stepped out in that interview and he was like, yo, Max Verstappen, I know you think he's just a hard racer. He ain't, man. He's putting our lives at risk. Like, he said the words, you know, I want to go out and kill him. Like, I can't remember what the exact quotes were, but, like, he was really being, I don't say melodramatic, but, you know, he was being George Russell. I think that's a more accurate term. And his eyes were watering, and he was having that back and forth. And Max's response then was pretty similar to Max's response now, which is like, boo-hoo, fuck you, like, go grab the tissues, mate, cry more. Max Verstappen would, like, eat up an Xbox party back in the day on 360. You know, fucking cry more, fucking, he's, you know, sending the voice notes on Xbox Live. He's doing all of it. Like, he's a troll. He doesn't, but ultimately it comes from a place of just not giving a fuck. Like, and this was a situation where Max actually straight up did do something, I guess, out of all, like, I guess other times it's, you can hide behind it's hard racing, whereas this kind of felt like it was just a realization in the moment. I felt like I could relate to, like, that moment so clearly, and maybe I'm misinterpreting it. But it really did feel like you're in the act, you're doing something, you're complying, and, like, you have a split second where you're just like, you know what, I don't even give a fuck about anything that's happening here. And you just, like, do something in the moment, you're just like, fuck this. And it being George Russell as well, you know, like, the person you have to give the place back to. Like, if it's Charles Leclerc, does he do that? Does he do the cheap little nut shot as he goes? Like, what? It's like, oh, I'll give this place back, fine, I'll probably re-overtake anyway, I want to do it in, like, a petty way. And it's like, oh wait, it's fucking George. It's almost like he caught a glimpse of his face under the visor, you know, because, and that, you know what I'm saying right now is probably fucking bullshit. Oh, it being George over being Leclerc, like, he would probably come out and say that's bullshit if he heard that take, this and that, like, whatever. But that's what's fun about the sport sometimes. The fact that you can, like, create these storylines in your head and like rationalize how that could actually be a reality and make sense. And to me, it's not even that like, it's not even that like, what's the word, much of a reach. I think drivers have said this before. You know, it may be different words, but like they drive different depending on who's behind them, and they'll say it in different ways. I remember like last weekend or the weekend before, Lando was saying, I think the weekend before, Lando was like, when he did that overtake on George, oh yeah, I know George. George is a good driver. We had fun going through those corners. And then other weekends, he talks about people like Lance Stroll, and he's like, well, it's fucking Lance. I remember like seasons ago, he was talking about Lance in that way. He talks about Max in that way. You got to race differently if it's Max. Apply that logic to this with with what Max did to George. Right? He technically raced differently because it was George. I don't think that's too much of a reach, but you know. That was my most exciting part of the weekend. Obviously, Piastri. I don't know who got driver of the day. It should have been Piastri if it wasn't. I don't even know why Lando. Lando's got such a strong fan base. Even like I'm reminded by how strong Lando's fan base is, even in this season and parts of the end of last season, towards the end of last season, where he kind of became one of the most hated drivers on the grid, right? Basically, Lando started to become disliked the second that the car got good in the sense that it could consistently compete, right? And like whenever I see driver of the days, it's a reminder that even in this anti-Lando world, where Lando can do no right, he still has such a core fan base that votes him on those driver of the day things where like he has done nothing. And like, yeah, sure, he's P2, but like he went back at the start. He had to work to get those places back. None of the overtakes were particularly intricate. He got them on straights, you know, just a few pure pace in that car, which they clearly had. And he did the same strategy as his teammate. He then got the safety car, his only chance to actually be right behind his teammate on the same tyres. And we've never really seen it. We've seen it like a couple times. We saw him race a little bit, but it was different tyres a couple weekends ago. And like this time, same tyres, and Piastri had him, and he had his number the whole weekend. So it was to be expected, but I did have my fingers crossed. And by the way, I would have been more happy. I remember thinking this moments before it restarted. I would rather see both of them crash and then crash out afterwards in the fucking press. On like after that restart, instead of just like it finishing still Piastri 1, Lando 2. Because like it was just like, I don't know. One of my least favorite things about McLaren, Norris, and like Norris's fans is that even though I get triggered, I get I get rattled, I maybe feed some bait. I don't think any of it's bait, but you know, people who talk about Lando on Twitter, those are the people who don't like Lando. Equally, I'll go on Twitter and see the people who do like Lando, and I'll be like, that's why we're fucking losers. That's why we're fucking losers, because we're fucking like. Everyone just posts, it's just like, oh, it's cute little videos. Oh, it's look at the little smile Lando sent Piastri. And all of this fucking bullshit. Oh my god, it's really good today, Lando. Like, he got P2, he did his best. Oh my god. And oh my god, he got fastest lap, you know. And it's just like, this isn't, not like, people are still acting like this is the like P2 is a win, like a P2 means something. It means fuck all. Lando said at the end of last season, next year's my year, and he said that, by the way. Like within his mind, his competitor being Max Verstappen, he said next year's my year, confidently at the end of last season. Like I'm gonna work hard. I'm gonna get my head in the right place. Next year's my year, and I felt like he did believe that, and he said that thinking he'd be going against Max Verstappen. You're going against your teammate, who you've handled easily for the past 2 seasons, and the 3-month gap between seasons is not enough for Piastri to, from what I've seen after maybe the first 3 races of this season, comfortably dominate Lando. Like I get Piastri's slowly improving, but Norris is only like 24, 25, right? He's not the finished article. He shouldn't be. He should still also be slowly improving. That was always my logic, right? Yeah, Piastri is going to be improving with each season. That's why people were saying that Piastri will beat him. Lando should also be improving. So that parallel line should stay parallel type thing, you know what I mean? But like this, from what I've seen this season, I can't, look, call me crazy, tell me I'm there, Charlie Day with the red tape, you know, acting like a lunatic. I don't believe the only reason Piastri is beating Norris just because Piastri has suddenly got that much better in a 3-month off season this season, and it's just clicked for him. Maybe the car setup's different and it works for him more in a way, but I feel like it's not just the sense that Piastri's got better. and he's caught up with Lando. I feel like Lando has got worse, and most of it's a mentality thing, but just his starts he never used to go back. So, and obviously, the further forward you start, the less places you're going to gain from starts, there's less cars to overtake. But like, his starts when he's at the front aren't great. He's still good on a Sunday. I feel like he used to be better at qualifying, because not only do we consistently see Piastri out qualifying, that's one thing. And to be fair, I think it's actually not that far apart in qualifying. It's like 5-4 or 6-4 or something. But it's like, he's had too many moments where he's not only been out qualified, but he's also been out qualified by George or by someone else. So he's not just like the second car to Piastri. He's like 2-3 behind. So he's really just got to sort it out, because there's only so many times I can like petulantly slam my laptop closed whilst watching Lando on a weekend, just to open it 10 seconds later and be like, oh fuck you, then I'm fine. You know, hopefully, because that's how most of my weekends go. The Ferraris, did they have an interesting weekend? Not really. I don't really know what happened to Hamilton. Max was Max. Oh yeah, Max fell back. So who was the third on the podium? Was it Leclerc? Leclerc is not as much as George when it comes to like sneaking in and getting on podiums without noticing them too much in races, but Leclerc's decent at doing that as well. The Mercedes, I mean, the safety car came from an Antonelli sort of car just stopping, that's another thing I like to see, where I feel like we haven't seen so much this season. These are like variables that make a season really good outside of just the drivers being good and having exciting races because of overtakes alone. I feel like there's more to the pie or the cake or whatever dish, right, that you need. And on top of, the drivers being good and them being good overtakes or whatever, people fighting at the front. Yeah, good radios. Cars crashing. Cars breaking down for no reason. No reason at all. Cars just going to stop working now. I like that. You know, here's to seeing some more punctures in the future as well. Where's punctures gone? Bring punctures back into fashion. You know, I mean, I've missed a puncture. Love a good puncture. Even when there's debris on track, I'm not seeing enough punctures. I love a good puncture. I'm looking through the track. I'm looking through the grid. We had Rosberg on commentary, which I always like. I like the original duo, which I'm sure is Brundle and Crofty, right? But if it's not going to be them, I like to see Rosberg on. He's a little bit more combative, and sometimes he like awkwards me out because of that. Hearing that confrontation on comms is always awkward. But he offers a different insight, and he gives his opinion in a way that feels genuine, but still like an opinion. Some people give opinions that are just so general that it's like it may as well be something you got off Wikipedia or ChatGPT or something. And then some people give opinions where it feels like your whole thing is being an opinion guy. And that's how I feel about Villeneuve, I think is his name. Whereas Rosberg gives it in a way that feels authentic. And at the very least, sometimes if I agree or don't disagree with him, I feel like I'm getting an authentic guy. I like his story as a driver in Formula 1. So I think that probably adds something to what I think about him as a guy on commentary. And also he's just a bit goofy kind of sometimes with the pictures and things like that when he was cursing cars last year. Is there anything else I want to mention? Obviously, this has been a bit shorter than other ones because I've went off the top of my dome. I guess we could still do soft, medium, hard awards. I'm going to give the hard to Piastri. I mean, I think the only time he lost to Land... I mean, this doesn't count as losing, but he had a slower time in practice one. But, you know, apart from that, there was never a feeling in my mind. I mean, okay, here's something. After the... actually, I could talk about Lance Stroll a little bit as well. That's a bit of a funny thing. But, like, after Lando got the toe, which, if you don't know Formula 1, that sounds like a weird kind of maybe, like, frat boy ritual. Like, he got given the toe by by Piastri in the race by accident, or he steals it. It was being a little bit tricky, right? And then Piastri's reaction kind of told me everything I needed to know, and I never believed that would mean anything. Like, he got the toe from Piastri and therefore got a purple sector. His other sectors were not purple, where that wasn't in effect. And even with that, he was like half a tenth quicker with it. So I knew for a fact, okay, Piastri's on pole here. And his reaction even, cheeky. Cheeky. Like, it was like not phased, because he was just so like in flow state, just so it was nonchalant vibes. It was just like so sure of him. Like, yeah, he's got him here. He's got him this weekend. And I was like, damn. Like, that was Lando doing like, okay, I'm gonna. That was, you know what that was? That was fucking Tony Stark in Infinity War, where he's like fighting Thanos, and it's like, fuck, I'm a put this hand down, nanotech into the ground, swing around, punch, fucking. All that for a drop of blood. You know, that was Piastri in the moment. Like, Lando pulled out, okay, I'm going to do this tactic, I'm going to do this, I'm going to get the toe, I'm going to go through half a tenth, and we've still got to do another run. Yeah, okay. Which, if anything, if that was a smart little idea, maybe do that when it's the final one and it matters. Maybe, like, it was already decided he was going to go out second for the whatever it was, right? But it seemed like a smart little thing he pulled off in the moment. Just maybe try and do that at the end of the thing, and then he can't retaliate. But you know, and the Lance Stroll thing I wanted to say was he didn't race this weekend, right? Or did he? God, this is how forgettable Lance Stroll can be. Did Lance Stroll race? And if he didn't race, who the fuck raced? I'm not even going to check it. The fact that I remember seeing headlines like Lance Stroll's not going to race because his hands, he has to have surgery, it's been bugging him for a while, which, by the way, we're not racing next weekend. Why not just race this weekend with the pain for one more race? Like, this time I know Lance Stroll doesn't even really give a fuck anymore. When he injured his hand on the bike thing and then like he forced himself back extra early to race for the weekend, surely he was in more pain then, coming straight back from the surgery trying to rush it. Then now, when you've already been racing with it for the past 5 races, and then we're not racing next weekend anyway. Why not just, you know what I mean? It just kind of felt needless. I guess they just saw it as an opportunity to give someone else a chance. Which, if they did, who the fuck got the chance? Maybe like, did we just run with 19 cars, or was Stroll actually there, or was it somebody else? Clearly, my mind wasn't on that watching the race. But you know what? Actually, why I want to give this race credit for something, because maybe it wasn't the best race this season. I can't remember which ones were. I remember there being some proper chaotic, crazy ones, maybe 3-4 races ago. But I kind of really appreciate this race because this is the first time I've not posted any TikToks from this in a while, which even though I could have done, I just hate making TikToks for some reason. I like TikTok's really important. For some reason, I don't think it's weird to not want to listen to myself back for that long and just have to cut it up. It's just kind of, you know, even though I know it's important. This is the first time in a while where I've been listening to myself speak as I speak and thought, oh, that could be a little TikTok there. That could be a little something interesting there, right? Which I feel like hasn't been the case for all, because this race has had an extra added something that the other ones haven't had in terms of the added narratives and little storylines throughout, and little things and drama things and fun little things that happened off track in interviews, little slide digs and comments. You know, Matt's the box of tissues talking about George, and George, whatever he said, like, what can I say? You guys all saw what I was talking about, and they all called me crazy for my comments. You know, like, I just felt like this weekend had something. I kind of want to put it up there for races of this year. Mainly, I guess, for stuff that happened in the last 10 laps, but I guess you're only as good as your last 10 laps, at least in my mind. So, yeah. This was the Spanish Grand Prix. Not sure what we got next. I'll Google it after. My laptop's not in hand. But I know there's no race. Whenever I go to say race, I always go to say race. And it really, why do I don't know what the next race is. I know there isn't one next weekend. I don't know if it's a double break. I don't know what it is. We could never be racing again for all I know. I'll make a guess. I'm going to say it's Spa, which would really suck because I think Piastri's really good at Spa. Apparently he loves Spa. I think he beat Lando across the sprint because it's a sprint. And that's such a bad place to not be great because it's a double point situation. But I think Piastri's pretty good at Spa. So if it is Spa, that's going to suck. I'm talking so much right now as if it is definitely Spa. It's just a guess out of nothing. But he is better at Spa, I think. And if there's a sprint as well, which I think there is. So I think, you know, because last season as well, I think he absolutely blitzed him at Spa. And that was a season where Lando comfortably was better. So that would fucking suck. And especially if Piastri's going in off the back of a win and high confidence and Lando isn't. Goddamn. So that was going to suck. But yeah, this was Hard Zone. We got Hard Zone. We're going to the end. Thank you very much. And I'll see you next week, I guess. Bye.